Well, welcome to our next episode here on Rekla Reflections. This week, we are working through the theme of the power of reflection and leadership. So our title is How Finnish Classrooms Build Leaders Through Peer Learning. All right, leadership in learning. You can learn more on our Rekla website, www.reklalearningstudios.com. In our store, we have a leadership toolkit for teachers if you would like to learn more about leadership in learning. So, my opening question to you today is, does your classroom have a rhythm? Or maybe a better question is, do you know the rhythm of your classroom? Because every class has a rhythm. It's the tempo of how your students think, respond, and connect with each other. Some days it might feel fast and you're just running through the day. Ideas are bouncing, students are learning, everybody's engaged, and it feels like a jazz sound. Other days, it's more steady, quiet, reflective, almost like a heartbeat, just methodically moving along. The magic of leadership begins when we learn to hear that rhythm as a teacher, not just try to manage it. Because leadership doesn't always start with instructions or control. Sometimes it begins with one student who senses the flow, takes a small step, and invites the rest to follow. All of a sudden, you have student leadership. In Finland, teachers often describe classrooms as living systems, each with its own energy, timing, and trust. Reflection is what helps students and teachers tune into that. It's how they move from reacting and just passive learning and listening to leading and student agency, from doing what's told to understanding why it matters, taking ownership. And that's what we're exploring today, how reflection transforms your classroom rhythm from noisy to harmony, from participation into leadership, from passive into active learning, and even more importantly, from energy draining control of behavior for teachers to energy restoring responsibility for learning. In every classroom, there's a hidden rhythm between the teacher direction or instructions and students' initiative. When that rhythm feels balanced, the class flows. The teacher talks, the students respond, they engage, they're part of the lesson. When it's off balance, we feel it in our bones. Teachers are standing up there looking at a blank class, knowing they're just not getting it. The energy dips, attention drifts, and learning feels heavy. Reflection is the bridge that helps restore that balance. So if you find yourself in a moment in your teaching time and you just get that feeling nobody's getting it, step back. Take a moment and say, okay, class, let's do a little reflection activity here and help everybody retune into what's going on. It's what turns rhythm into awareness. When students reflect together, they begin noticing patterns, right? Who is taking the lead? Who helps others stay on track? When does our class energy feel focused? And when does it fade? In Finnish-inspired classrooms, reflection is never just about what was learned, the textbook, the worksheets, the lectures. It's about how we learned together, because learning how creates critical thinking, problem solving, first-century skills. When children become aware of the class rhythm, its pace, its tone, and teamwork, they begin managing their own energy. They become aware of when not only are they themselves out of sync, but the class is out of sync. So the more we invite students to reflect, the less we have to remind them, because they begin to notice and adjust on their own. And that's when the classroom rhythm becomes something sustainable, right? Something that is developing or creating a learning moment, something everyone owns and begins to contribute to. So, how do we help students hear and manage that rhythm? In my podcasts, I routinely provide some practical application to our concept. So, let's do that now. I have brought 5 Rekla inspired strategies you can try in your classroom. Even if your classroom is a big class with many, many students, or if your class has very few resources, these suggestions and ideas will fit both scenarios as well as our typical classrooms. So, number 1, the pause and pulse. Halfway through a lesson, pause and ask, let's take our classroom's pulse. Give students an opportunity to choose one word to describe the energy. You can write some suggestions on the board: focused, curious, tired, excited. And then one idea for what might help. If you're out of sync, how can we get back into sync? It's quick, it's honest, and it builds a habit of self-awareness. Number 2, the reflection leader. You can have one student volunteer each day to lead a short reflection circle at the end of a lesson. Not always has to be at the end of the day, but at the end of each lesson. Ask what worked well in our group today and what can we improve tomorrow, so they can develop that conversation with their peers. That small leadership moment builds voice and empathy and shows students that reflection is shared, not imposed. Okay, number 3, the rhythm wall. Create a simple class chart where students record moments they felt in flow or out of sync. You can use stickers, colors, drawings, whatever is of interest to your class. And over time, you'll see patterns emerge. And students start predicting what helps them learn best. And they begin to refine that so they can get there quicker, right? So they move into that mental setting quicker to learn more. Number 4, the transition reset. So this would come after a lively moment in class. Maybe you had a PE class and everybody's coming back. Maybe you had a music class and everybody's coming back, or playground time. So it's after an active or playful period of time, and we need to bring everybody back into a central moment of focus. So you can invite one student, or you can ask for a volunteer to lead what we call a 60-second reset. This can be through a question, such as what helped us work well, or it can be through a rhythm, clapping, right, to restore order, or it can be through a game or a breathing exercise. There's lots of different ways to create a 60-second recess, and allowing the student to choose that option gives them an agency in the class. And if, as teachers, we can model some of those 60-second resets and demonstrate to the students how to do these things prior to this moment, then they have a toolkit that they can choose from. So this keeps reflection light, fast, and energy restoring instead of draining. And it doesn't require the teacher to always be in charge. Our last one is the leadership reflection card. Using a simple printed or digital card with 3 prompts, right? You can put it up on the smartboard, or you can just hold up the cards and you can do a short reflection. So who showed leadership today? You can also do this activity in small groups. It can help individualize this activity a little bit more. What made our teamwork stronger? Or how did I help our class energy? And then collect those, and you can begin to see a rhythm. You'll have authentic student-driven evidence of learning. And you don't have to grade it, right? The students are doing self-assessments and you will have an artifact to show at the end. Each of these practices only takes a few minutes, but together they transform the culture from managed behavior to mindful energy, from teacher control to student awareness. Leadership doesn't have to look like authority. It can look like awareness. When students reflect or when teachers reflect, they begin to notice how their actions affect the rhythm of the group. They start leading by listening, and that changes everything. Honestly, when your students are aware of themselves and others, it helps them to adjust their behavior or their words. It's not just for them, but it's for you as a teacher too, because if they are more aware of themselves, they will begin to govern themselves, and it allows you to have more energy and more excitement in the classroom. You can create more engaging activities because you trust your students to govern themselves and do the activity. Because when reflection becomes a habit, energy returns, right? The classroom runs on curiosity, not compliance or rewards. Students feel trusted and teachers feel lighter. That's the moment we move from control to community. Next time, we'll take this one step further and explore how reflection grows into peer assessment, which we touched on a little bit today, and student agency. We'll talk about how Finnish teachers use feedback not for judgment, but as an invitation to transform. Until then, take a moment to notice your own classroom rhythm. See if you can figure it out. Invite the students in a circle integration moment to discuss this new idea, this new concept that we want to create in the classroom to improve the atmosphere of learning. Where does it flow easily? Where does it get stuck? And maybe why? Or how we can get out of that stuck state. That's where leadership is waiting to grow. If you try one of today's reflection strategies, I would love to hear how it goes. Share your story on LinkedIn or tag Rekla on Instagram, because leadership grows when we listen to each other. Thanks for tuning in to Rekla Reflections. I'm Vanessa, and I'll see you on Sunday for our next deep dive into reflective leadership on our YouTube channel, The Courage to Teach Differently. Have a great day.